Welcome to Politics Done Right. My name is Egberto, Willies, your host. Good morning, Houston. Good morning, Harris County. Good morning to the great state of Texas. Good morning to Northeast Texas, Southeast Texas, Northeast Louisiana, Southeast Louisiana. Everywhere that these signals from the 100,000 watt transmitter permeates into the homes, into the cars, into your radios. If for those who still use radios, that is. And of course, welcome to the rest of the world who we connect with via the magical internet. We are going to have a great program today. Of course, today's Thursday, which means we also have present with us El Señor Neil Aquino. But before, and that is the founder of the Houston Democracy Project, a very important community organization. And folks, beforehand, let's go on to El Estudio to meet the geniuses. Los genios in Spanish, not the word that Howard likes to use. Los genios, the geniuses, not heinous, genios, brothers in the studio. ¿Cómo están mis amigos favoritos? How are you guys doing today?
Well, as soon as we meet those geniuses, we'll let you know. Well, anyhow, we're okay. The Kansas string are holding up. I've been doing a great deal of listening to our HD2 channel since we were able to restore it, and there's some pretty darn good shows on there. So anyone who's listening to our main channel, don't tune away right now. But be sure to make it a point to check in the HD2 channel sometime. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised at what's on there. And we are in Fund Drive. So this is the last day. I'm going to steal Sandy's thunder. He's going to tell you it's the last day of Fund Drive, but I'll tell you first. It's very important that you support KPFT if you still want to have KPFT. 713-526-5738 is the number to call. And Jack, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Good morning, Egberto.
Buenos dias, Jack. How you doing, my brother? Talk to me.
I'm doing good. I got to give a little shout out this morning. I got my teeth cleaned yesterday. And this is to Brenda, the hygienist. I told her all about KPFT, and maybe she's listening this morning. Maybe she'll dig it. Okay, well, here we go. Project 2025. Well,
oh boy.
Well, the GOP has put it out there, Project 2025. They're not even trying to hide what they want to do. This document is the means of how the GOP will enslave the people. The citizens on the left, right, and center need to make themselves fully aware of what is in this document. Then ask yourself this question. Does America really want to jump into the hands of a political party that is actively working to oppress and subjugate you, the citizen? We must learn how to resist corporate fascism.
Well, very nice, Jack. I've been weeding my way through Project 2025, and I must say that some of the points I do agree with. The what would you call it, over-administration of things, and some of these departments in the government that actually don't really do anything. Some of them do need to go, but the wholesale overhaul of our government is, that's going to get kind of dicey if they try that.
It'll be a corporate makeover.
Well, that's pretty much it. So anyway, let's welcome in Sandy this morning. Sandy, are you standing by with your coffee? Well,
he's trying to get his mute on. He's trying to take it off mute. So while Sandy
I'm right here.
Oh, there he is. There he is.
Yeah. I was trying to play you the Good Morning Vietnam clip, Adrian Cronauer telling you good morning. It didn't work out.
Oh, darn.
What I hope works out this morning is everybody that has not yet pledged this drive this year, never, to KPFT, this is it. This is the final day of our May Thankathon, Share-a-thon, Fundathon, hopefully Thonathon, you name it. You can call it by whatever name you want to call it. We're just trying to gather up the money to pay the bills around here to keep KPFT on the air. And a big shout out to our favorite 6 a.m. blues disc jockey, our favorite Tuesday morning 9:30 to noon disc jockey, Boyd Bluestein, who made a pledge last evening. And I'm not going to tell you the amounts or anything, but we're going to start today at $124,514 plus an unverified pledge that we'll process hopefully later this morning. But folks, we need you. Our goal is 150,000. So nakedly without verifying that pledge. And let's hope it's not late night wine drinking and impulse. It goes through. Everything's cool. But we're going to need to hear from you today to get to our goal of $150,000. It would be the biggest day in fund drive for May, maybe since we returned to the airwaves in September of 2022. It's going to take all of us, is what I'm saying. It always does. KPFT relies on its listeners. And here we are, the final day of the May fund drive. Wait, I just heard a cheer from the studio. Maybe from Egberto, too. Did I, Egberto? 713.
Yes, you did.
538 713-526-5738 or our website, kpft.org. There's a donate button. You click it, make your donation. Go ahead, Egberto.
Thank you so kindly, Sandy. Before I go to Neil Aquino, I want to touch on something that Howard said that is extraordinarily important. Howard said when he read the Project 2025, and Howard, I don't know if you get it, man. That is so important. When he said, there are certain things in there that I see that I like because we really need to do it. And that is the danger of how these guys operate. Howard is exactly right. There are a lot of things that need changing in our government. There are a lot of things that needs improvement. Hell, there are a lot of things in Medicare that needs changing. But the funny thing about it is if we change it, it dings the corporation, but they won't highlight those. But that is how they work on you. They give you a little bit of truth, you adapt it, and then you find out what's underneath as far as the other things that they have planned for you. So the thing about
there
it
are
is,
kernels of truth in it. There are kernels of truth,
right?
Now,
go ahead.
Well, that's how a lie gets to be accepted.
Right.
You give them just enough truth into it that this looks pretty good, and you lock onto that kernel of truth. But the following pages are pretty deceptive, and it's also contradictory. One paragraph will contradict the other one. So it's like I said, I'm weeding my way through it, and I think I'm up to about page 50 right now of the concepts of what they plan on doing, the 4 pillars that it stands on. Yes, government reform, financial reform would be a good place to start. Stop buying our politicians. Stop letting them be able to be bought. That's a big one. So there are kernels of truth in it, and there are things that you're going to look at it and go, oh, well, that's a pretty good idea. And it is. However, the other ideas that go along with it, it's like you buy a car. Okay, gee, I love these leather seats, but the engine is terrible.
Right.
So, that's what goes along with it. What's more important, the leather seats or the engine? Well, I'd say the engine is.
Yeah.
However, that's kind of what I'm noticing about this document as I kind of weed my way through it. Anybody else?
I am going to
talk about that.
Yeah, I'm going to start reading. I went and found it and started, reading the beginning, and I said, I was going to start looking for synopsis, but for some of what we do, I think there's some of the articles in it that I want to kind of deconstruct a little bit more. But hey, by the way, guys, I forgot to do the screen. It's on now, so we can go ahead and fire up the phones on the server. Anyway, folks, we have with us, of course, Neil Aquino. Neil Aquino, welcome to Politics Done Right. It's Thursday. You always give us that good info on Thursday.
Good morning, world, global audience. Good morning, Egberto in studio, and looks like a great day ahead.
Yeah, and look, folks, when Sandy talks about this being the last Thursday, not only the last Thursday, but the last day of fund drive for this season, please let it be that we don't have to start the other fund drive earlier than we need to by supporting us. Now, we have a great program for you today. The title of the show is The Project 25 Evil is Real. Aquino visits. Right-wing movement is global and global inequality. Representative Ayanna Pressley points out the evils of MAGA Project 2025. Neil Aquino visits to talk not only about the local elections, but about some issues with the environment, as well as the hypocrisy of the two leaders, both McConnell and Johnson, in attending a particular memorial. The right wing movement based on fear and power is global. Farid Zakaria just wrote a book, War on Revolution, or something to that effect, Age of Revolutions, that points out that this right wing movement, which is really an anti-woman, anti-other movement, that is pretty fearful that women are moving up, that people that never had power are accepting now their equality. So the world, it's not just the United States. It's these people that believe just a few should be in charge, that are fomenting, that are moving on with these types of right-wing movements. And then the thing that bothers the world the most right now, and this is all countries in the world, is global inequality. There's an important paper that just came out on that I referenced. We're probably not going to get to hardly any of this because of fundraising, because of what we have to talk about, elections and the works, but it's there, of course, in the newsletter at politicsandright.com/newsletter. A lot to cover, and plus we want to hear from you, but we want you to call 713-526-5738, extension number 1. Folks, we prepare a full program for you every single night to come first thing in the morning and give you. And what we ask of you is for you to make us whole. And how do you make us whole? By contributing to make sure we stay alive. $5 a month, a coffee a month, folks. A coffee a month or a couple of coffees a month. Somebody I just saw gave 10 coffees a month. But again, we're just asking for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 coffees a month. And I guarantee you will feel better knowing that, yes, you own this station. Yes, you're a part of this station. But not only that, you have a platform at this station. You can also go to kpft.org, kpft.org, hit the donate button. After you hit that donate button, do this drop-down box of Politics Done Right, and then go ahead and contribute whatever you can. Folks, we can't do this without you. Neil, talk to me. What's on your mind?
Well, good morning, and a couple of blog subjects, HoustonDemocracyProject.com. But I also just want to point out is the victory of Lauren Ashley Simmons over Sean Theory in House District 146. She won really easily, and this was really important election. I thought that Lauren Ashley Simmons would win, but it was really important. Sean Theory had made comments, anti-trans comments about banning books, and it was really important that a Democratic district reject that. And I was glad that it was an easy win. And I thought as important as Molly Cook's win was, that in some ways that was the most important win of the day, and that was in our primary runoffs this past Tuesday. So I was very, very glad and relieved to see the margin of that.
I want to point something out, Neil, because I don't want people to just think, oh, this was sort of a selective thing, that just because she spoke out against, wrongly about anti-trans, that's the only thing. It's a demeanor of the hate that she promoted.
Yeah.
It's that we as progressives love. We don't hate. And what she did is she jumped on the Republican MAGA bandwagon of banning books. It was just that demeanor of hate. We don't vote for people with that demeanor of hate. Continue, my brother.
Right. Her finance report is not, she was supposed to have Representative Theory was supposed to have filed a finance report a few days ago. She has not. She's been fined for not filing it. One might assume that there's some Republican money that they didn't want to see. But it's a great win. There were some disappointments on primary runoff day. Kim Oggs, chief of staff, Vivian King won a countywide judicial seat over a good man, Jamil Haynes. So that was a disappointment. And then Annette Ramirez for tax assessor is the Democratic nominee. And I'm glad to see that, because she has committed in a conversation with me and to be active for the full Democratic ticket in Harris County, and that is important, because as our conversation in 2025 already has shown, these issues are national, local, and we need our Democratic nominees to advocate for the full ticket. So I was glad to see that, and now on to the HCAT elections, and if you can believe it, that's the Harris County Appraisal District, and we've talked a lot about that here. But the runoff begins June 3rd. Early voting, if you can believe it, early voting for the HCAT begins June 3rd through the 11th. The Harris County Appraisal District election day is the 15th, and there are two Democratic nominees, Melissa Noriega and Palumi Adelke, and Melissa's running against a guy named Kyle Scott, who filed one of the election denial overturn suits in 2022 that was rejected by the court. And it is important. As I often say, authoritarianism will require a local infrastructure, and every office is involved in that. Every Republican who wins is another supporter of migrant roundups and Project 2025 and Governor Abbott's pardoning of Perry, who shot the protester in Austin. So please be mindful of the HCAT elections. And it's going to be the lowest.
We hope to not make it the lowest, because I think I'm going to have both Adelke and Noriega on in the next week or so. And I think I got contacted by two of them, and of course it's open for the Republicans to come and talk as well. I'll be more than happy to ask them the appropriate questions. So continue, my brother.
Great. So couple of topics I hit over the week on the Houston Democracy Project blog. We had, of course, our storm. There's always a storm. There's always a damn storm. There's always a storm. And so we just got past 10 days ago, the storm that knocked out power for 800,000 customers. We then had another storm 2 or 3 days ago. Midday, it was as dark as night. It was as dark as night midday a couple days ago. Matt Lanza, the meteorologist, reported a couple days ago that the heat index was the hottest in Houston in 26 years. 115-degree heat index in Hobby Airport. And this is May. So it's the hottest day in Houston by the measure of the heat index in 26 years, right? And we could go off about climate change.
But I mean, I want to specify something in his tweet. Yes, It's the hottest day since that date, but it's the earliest hottest day as I recall. In other words, when he talked about a hotter day, it was in August, not May. We haven't hit summer yet. Go ahead, my brother.
Right. We have. Yeah. There's been crazy heat. Florida's had terrible heat. I don't know much about the climate of New Delhi, India, but they apparently I saw they had their hottest day. So it's global. Mm-hmm. But what I wanted to talk about was we keep normalizing our disasters. So it's storm after storm, heat wave after heat wave, flood after flood, freeze, blackout, and we're normalizing our disasters. Last summer was the hottest ever in Houston, and we know that for months at a time, it's really almost uninhabitable to go out and take a walk or take a jog during the day, especially if you're older, you have a medical condition, a small child. And we know the rhetoric already. Let's say a storm came tomorrow, big storm. We know the rhetoric already. We're going to be Houston strong. We're going to work together. We're going to pitch in. And we ought to do that. We ought to do those things. But I don't want to be Houston strong. I want to address climate change and the poverty and economic stress that's causing and are exacerbating these endless storms and heat waves. The politicians will say, here's the water distribution point. Here's the cooling center. That's great. But at this point, I think when the politician says, here's the water distribution center, the reply could be, well, thank you. And then also, what'd you do about climate change? What did you do about the poverty that makes everyone, or the economic stress that makes people not have air conditioning, or not have enough water, or not have enough food? And the normalization of disaster, I don't trust the politicians who normalize disaster. And there's so much economic. Remember during the pandemic at Baker Ripley over on Navigation and at points throughout Harris County, remember the food lines? People had been tossed out of work quick. The food lines went around the block over and over in Harris County and across the country. So you have politicians who won't speak up all the time. You can't get them to address anything. But the minute there's a disaster, here's the food, right? And they get that food from the Houston Food Bank, from a corporate sponsor. They didn't grow the food. They themselves, John Whitmire has a $10 million in the campaign back. He could go out and buy a lot of water, but they didn't buy the water. And I don't trust politicians who normalize disasters to not also normalize authoritarianism. It's all, hey, just get used to it. Hey, this stuff is falling apart. We're not going to address it, but we'll live through it. We'll get through it. Here's the distraction I'll offer you. Our futures are on the line, and we need to demand elected leaders and institutions tell the complete story and work to prevent nightmare outcomes. And we cannot be deflected by, the good deed that they're shoving in our face. They don't do it anonymously. It's like, hey, I'm giving you water and I'm calling a press conference to do it. So they're using the disasters for their own ends. And just like after a mass shooting, right? Oh, we can't politicize this. It's the same thoughts and prayers and all that. We can't politicize this. Well, the disasters are political. We've seen with Hurricane Maria in Puerto Rico, where Trump would not respond. We saw with Hurricane Katrina, where it was
Bush
used
did
to
not respond.
Yeah. Or Hurricane Ike in Galveston, which was used to get rid of people in subsidized housing. These hurricanes are political. These storms are political, and we should get right. We should acknowledge it.
Thank you, Neil. Before we continue, or before I answer that, is Johnny's on the line. So the mayor of Houston, the mayor of politics done right. Let's go ahead and bring him in. Good morning, Johnny. How are you doing?
Good morning to you. And Mr. Magic, when he answered my phone call, he's a genius. His musical knowledge shows when he says, "No static at all." That should be my theme song. Anyway, so I will add to what Neil Aquino just said. I can't disagree with anything he's just said. And let's remind us that one of the many insults that we've had to endure under the Trump regime was when he and his family, they had law enforcement at the airport show up and confiscate, actually steal those PEs, those masks and stuff that the California taxpayers paid for, and they took it for themselves. And then later on, when reporters alluded to that, what did his son-in-law say? Those are ours. He meant it, literally belongs to them, him and his family. They're a bunch of thieves. Now, to dovetail with that, I would say instead of agreeing with parts of the 2025 plan, how about we sandblast it totally? How about we come up with our own version? How about the Democratic Party leaders say, hey, what we need to do the next round, starting after the inauguration, is start working up a plan to rewrite in writing, put in writing, specifically details, granular details on what the United States president and vice presidents can and cannot do. In other words, a job description. That's right. That's where we've come now. Even people who we think are honorable and trustworthy and the honor system, well, guess what? The Republicans and Donald Trump, they have destroyed that. It makes it necessary for us now to create a job description for the president. And while we're at it, let's figure out how to redo the Supreme Court, because right now it don't work. How about
first of all,
fine. No, it's not.
Okay, Johnny, I want to address a few things that you said that are important, right? One, let's start with the Supreme Court. I tell you what, I always thought Alito was a serious guy until I read the letter that he wrote to Congress. And it turns out he's a petty half of a man that doesn't really, we never saw this side of Alito. Look, I never agreed with Alito, but my God, the guy is actually not a serious person. And I never knew that. But secondly, when you talk about coming out with our own documents, here's what happens. There are really four factions in this country. Well, I should really say three. There is the far right, MAGA. There is the left, progressives. And then there is the neoliberal establishment. The neoliberal establishment would give you the impression that, well, not really. There are Republicans and then there are Democrats. The problem is we have a document. Let me be clear. If you take a look at the Green New Deal that we have allowed both Republicans and neoliberal Democrats to malign, you will see how the Green New Deal is not just about green energy. The Green New Deal is about justice. The New Deal is about the redistribution equitably of the spoils of the earth. I mean, there's so much in there. But anytime you write a document that talks about doing good for everybody, it is ridiculed not only by the right, but also by neoliberal Democrats. So one of the reasons you don't see this strong cohesion like you see on the right is that there's only a smaller faction, a growing faction, but a small faction of the folks on the left-hand side of the aisle that is actually doing this kind of work. If you take a look at policy, and I'm serious here now, people laugh when you mention the name AOC, or you mention the name Ayanna Pressley, or you mention the name Rashad, or all these Maxwell, the young kid from Florida. These are serious people. What's that, Neil? I thought I heard you say something.
No, Florida. I'm sorry, Florida.
Oh, yeah, from Florida. I'm sorry, from Florida. Maxwell from Florida. When you look at the policies that these people talk about in the hearings, nobody listens to. In other words, you listen to the hearings on C-SPAN when they're in these meetings discussing issues. You're like, oh my God, these people are learned people. These people are knowledgeable people. And then you listen to the crap coming across from MAGA and the BS they talk about have nothing to do with progress, moving the country forward, with making sure it's light and day. But when I talk about the news media being horrendously terrible, those are not the things that get coverage. They don't come out and say, well, this morning, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez talked about the disadvantage created by X policy and how we can modify this policy to solve this problem. You never hear that. You hear about, oh, she spoke about how her nose or her eyelashes is this. And I mean, the entire darn media system has gone crazy, even as they cover Trump on the 24/7 on MSNBC. I'll tell you something that I did. I turned off the news completely last night. I went into writing about completely other subjects last night because it is ridiculous, and they think we are they're making us a shallow people. Close out for me, Johnny. I got to go pitch.
Okay. You go ahead and pitch, and just keep in mind that the reason why we need left-wing non-commercial media like Free Speech TV, KPFT, Pacifica Radio, and such is exactly what you're describing in the legacy media in Manhattan. They have grown lazy with a capital L, lazy. It's more convenient and fun, and when no one's challenging them to do their job of journalism. I even like to criticize NPR on a regular basis when they fall short on their straight news reporting. They may do a decent job on social issues, but they fall short on their straight news reporting, and that's on purpose. They feel they have to. Why? Because of where they get their money from. We don't have that problem. We don't have any money. we don't have it. We're free.
Thank you, brother. Johnny, let me just say this, okay? Because when we say we don't have no money, here's what we have. We have community and we have crowdsourcing. So thank you, Johnny. I'm going to start my pitch right now and then jump to Sandy. But we do have crowdsourcing. Love you, brother. We talk. Listen, folks. Johnny just said we don't have money. What he means is we don't have the mega monies that the other side has. But we effectively use the little that we have. And the little that we have is what you have. And this is why we ask you to support what we're doing here so that we can get away from some of the shallowness and present accurate, relative, substantive coverage on issues that supports you. So please give us a call at 713-526-5738, extension number 1, and donate whatever you can. Get a Politics Done Right t-shirt with the KPFT logo on it. That is $120 contribution. Go ahead and supply us with a coffee a month. You don't even feel that, but it means everything to us to get thousands of people saying, we'll give you $5 a month. We'll give you $10 a month. We don't feel it, but concurrently, we at this station, we do, because it gets to pay that expensive electric bill for that 100,000 watt transmitter that permeates the whole space, the internet signals that gets through the entire world, the heating, the lighting, the cooling, or go to kpft.org and hit that donate button and select Politics Done Right and go ahead and donate what you can. Folks, this is our last day. This is the last day of the fund drive. We're at 124,000 and change. We need to get to 50,000. Why don't you give us that little piece that you can? You can do it. When Johnny says we don't have money, what he means is we don't have a lot of money, but we do have money compositely. And think about this, your cable bill. You pay $100, you get whatever they feed you. You pay $200, you get whatever they feed you. You pay us $5, $10, $15 a month, and you get value. And not only do you get value, but you also get a platform that you can speak and let every Houstonian, every American, everybody around the world who's listening to hear. Sandy.
Thank you, Egberto. We do have money to pay the bills. At least we've had money to pay the bills, and the $124,514 that's been amassed by 818 distinct donations will go a long way to pay bills coming up in the next couple of months. Our budget, our needs, they're designed around $150,000 total on this drive. Again, a big shout out to Boyd Bluestein, who put down a pledge early this morning. I hope it wasn't late night wine and a lot of boredom that caused it, because Boyd also made another pledge that we need to process. It's significant. But let's get back to the need for our funding this time around. Hypothetically, if we don't get enough money and we can't pay the electric bill, well, yeah, we take what we get, which is enough power to power that 100,000 watt transmitter, our studio building on Caroline Street. And without it, well, we know what happened during the storm, so I don't have to tell you. It's nothing but crackling and static. The money goes to pay the bills. I'm basically a volunteer. We've got one full-time paid employee. So personnel costs around KPFT have been reduced to their absolute minimum. We really can't go lower unless Howard wants to work for free. I don't think
FCC
Howard wants
won't
to
allow.
work for free. I don't even want him to work for free. He deserves 3 times what he's getting now, market rate. But that's not what we're doing here. We're all together in the same boat, rowing in the same direction, trying to keep this platform on the air, because without it, Egberto, myself, Howard, Jack, a lot of the hosts at KPFT, they'd be hanging around the grocery store in the neighborhood they live in, probably on aisle 6, staring at the canned green beans all day long. We can't have that as a fate. We can't have our programmers doing that. They're far too important. They're far too important to bring you the information and material and the conversations that we have on air, the music that you dance to all day long, far too important in the lives of our listeners, the present ones, the ones that listened in the past, and the ones that have yet to tune in and listen. Far too important to deprive everybody of. I'm not asking you to make up that gap of $25,000 in one fell swoop, unless, of course, you hit the lottery last night or the jackpot in Vegas, and you got the wherewithal, bring it. But I'm asking 25,000 people to do $1 or 2,500 people to do $10. There's power in numbers. There's power in community. There's power in information, especially when it's unbiased, free speech information. A lot of lies in the media, a lot of lies surround us, a lot of fake news that has become germane to the mainstream in many cases. KPFT, with volunteers like we have, and the honest information that you get, and the ability to express your opinion and join in the conversation on shows like Politics Done Right, or a little bit later in the morning, You Talk, or some of our other shows as we go through the week, it's not going to be found elsewhere. Egberto, you're right. You get that cable service, you get that Hulu subscription, you get that Netflix subscription, you get what you get. That's it. This is your radio station. Let us know what you want to hear. Join in. You can always drop an email with some suggestions. And, one of your callers, Joe, he wrote me a very nice email with a show suggestion. We'll give it some consideration. But the point being that this has always been part of the community, part of the fabric of Houston. And Houston has always supported this over the 54 years it's been in existence. That unbroken chain deserves not to be broken during this May Fund Drive, during this final day of the May Fund Drive. And yet, here we are at 6:37 waiting on our first pledge. I'm asking you to be that person by calling 713-526-5738. You hit option 1. Or by going to our website, kpft.org, and clicking the donate button, and be as generous as you can when you make that pledge. We got a long way to go, and only today to get there. So thanks, everybody that has donated already, and let's keep the ball rolling. And don't forget, a $100 pledge gets you a Politics Done Right t-shirt. A $120 pledge gets you the stainless steel 32-ounce tumbler. We've got wonderful thank you gifts. We've got a wonderful community radio station with a wonderful audience and people here participating. Let's see if we can just keep our balance and keep walking down the road, whistling a tune of free speech. 713-526-5738. Egberto,
Thank you so kindly. I will do that. Thank you so kindly, Sandy. Anthony L., thank you so kindly for your kind contribution. We are getting there. Now, if we could get several more Anthony L's right now, it would be great. So please call 713-526-5738, extension number 1. And like Anthony, give us that support. Anthony, I know it says that you are an existing member. I want to thank you for continuing to support KPFT. But we can't leave it all up for Anthony, who gives and gives and gives to support us. All of us that listen to what we have to say. Aquino gets up early in the morning. Brother Neil Aquino gets up early in the morning to be with us on Thursdays because of. And let me look. I've had you on my other programs, Neil, quite often, but you haven't been the reason. Let me just be clear. The reason you are here every Thursday is because of community input. 1, they heard you, they liked you. 2, they said, Egberto, you need to do some local programming or some programming that includes local stuff. And the truth of the matter is you are much more aware of local stuff than I am. And you are the best person to bring in to do this. You are here because the community asked for you and what you have to bring. We don't have that power in any other station. You don't. You requested a Neil Aquino. You got a Neil Aquino. So folks, what I'm saying is when you talk about you subscribe and you generously give your $100 a month or $200 a month or $300 a month to cable TV. You go out and you buy your Starbucks coffee or your Pete's coffee or all of these overpriced coffees without any return. Hey, we're asking you to get our overpriced coffee, which is really a contribution to the station, not really coffee it's a thank you gift. That's all it is. FCC, I said it. It's a thank you gift, FCC. Folks, fun and joke aside, we need you and you need us. This is a bidirectional thing. This is a symbiotic thing. We are here to provide what the mainstream media is unable to. Neil, I'm going to come to you in a second, but I want to get Brother Brian, who's on the line. I don't want him to hold too long. Come on, my brother Brian, brother from another mother. How you doing, sir?
Yeah, good. How about you?
I'm doing fine, brother. Talk to me.
Okay, I want to touch on something another caller said yesterday. I normally don't do that. He was exactly right on the person that, I guess he'd been to prison.
Yes.
I wasn't listening to it all. He was 100% right. And that's what the right wing is. We're not a bunch of tobacco juice spitting, NASCAR watching, wife beating people. We're the exact opposite of what is being portrayed as being voting Republican. We're not like what the left wing media has projected us to be. Pretty forgiving people. So.
Brian, let me ask you something, and I want you to answer me honestly. Have I ever once disparaged you?
I would say, yeah, quite a few times. You've always called me out on my facts.
All right, let me back up. And do you call me out on my facts?
Yes, always.
All right, thank you. So what we have is a conversation, right?
Yes.
Okay, so here's my point. My point is this, okay? I attack very hard politicians, financial structures, economic structures, etc., not people. And that's the reason why we can talk intelligently and civilly. I don't disagree with what you just said. I'm going to tell you a little secret, Brian. My sister came to visit me from California. She and her husband love her to death, and did they help in my house? Put up smoke alarms that were bad. I had to raise my house up because the foundation cracked, and there was some stuff that needed to be plastered with cement and all that kind of stuff. And her husband, my brother-in-law, all of us are from Panama. They came and they did all the work for it. But guess what, brother? She is a right winger. My sister is. I love my sister to death. My sister loves me to death. We talk. I finally got her to do an interview that I will play. And it's funny because we had fun doing the interview, and there was even a time when she said something like "Go Trump" or something like that. She said, and then she went downstairs after the interview and said, "Hey, honey," to her husband. I wonder what Berto's going to do. That's what she called me, to be, if he's going to play this, because I kind of said "Go Trump," and we all laughed about it, right? But seriously, what you're saying is correct. Most people have love in their hearts, right? But policy, I disagree with you on policy, and it is my responsibility, right? For the things that are not gray area. There are things that are gray area that you and I are going to disagree with. Abortion, we're also going to disagree on stuff like that, like whether you want small government and big government. But you know what we can't disagree on? That everybody who works deserves to be able to live a good life. There are a lot of things that we can agree on these particular issues. And what I try to do with my programming is to highlight those, and where I disagree with you that affects me and others like me, I am going to disagree with you respectfully, of course, but I will. And I expect you to do the same. And whoever has the better argument to the discussion will win elections. And then that's what we'll do. That's what a democracy is all about. Don't you agree, Brother Brian?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. So good. That's why you're here, and that's why you're here every damn day. And that's why I enjoy having you here every damn day. Anyway, give a pitch for Politics Done Right before you go.
Okay. See, there's no other station that you can call in and have a discussion, a difference of policies, theories, and thoughts like this station. I mean, I can't believe that you have to, every day ask for money. People should just give the money away. I mean, other people do. I do. And I wish everybody else would too. It doesn't take very much. It could be, like $20. But that's $20 towards the goal. So everybody that's listening, just pay some money. And then you can have a healthy dialogue and a healthy discussion. That's all I got to say.
Thank you so kindly, Brian. You have a wonderful day. You have a wonderful day. Come on in, Neil. I had you waiting there for too damn long.
Oh no, that's good. And I just want to point out that I'm a donor. Egberto's a donor, and so Egberto, we use the a cup of coffee or a cable television. I'd also, point out if you donate to campaigns, even the best campaign. I'm someone who I keep a distance, even from the most progressive politicians. I keep a bit of a distance. And what a donation to KPFT does is that it leaves a structure. It builds community, and it builds something that's here every day. One of the things with even the most progressive campaign, once that campaign's over, it's over. And that money has gone to consultants. It's gone to digital ads. And it really hasn't built any community. And frequently our campaigns, special interest funding, low turnout, and the things that sustain political campaigns don't really sustain democracy. But this is something that sustains democracy here at KPFT, something that builds community, builds a platform for different voices. And this is something that there's no election day here where that candidate you hope will do good. Well, will they or not? Here, that there's something that's good every day, something that will hold those politicians accountable every day, that will build a community of callers that anyone can join. And one of the things, it's great to be allowed to be here on Thursdays by Egberto and the studio team, because this is so built up on callers who can, because of Egberto's philosophy of running the show, can dictate or talk about whatever they want, change the topic of the program, be welcome. And this is a welcoming place of community and structure. And so don't just compare it even to the cup of coffee or the cable television. Compare it to the political donation and the fact that community and lasting structures of democracy are built here.
Thank you so kindly, Neil. Folks, please give us a call, 713-526-5738, 713-526-5738, extension number 1. Go ahead and consider giving a coffee a month, consider 2 coffees a month, consider 3 coffees a month, $15 a month, whatever you can. Or maybe you just want a one-time donation or a T-shirt. Go to kpft.org, click that donate button, scroll down to Politics and Right, and give whatever you can. Folks, we are making a difference, and we can continue to make a difference. And when we pass into Sandy in a minute, but here's the deal, folks. We are behind by about $25,000 or so. It's going to be hard to raise $25,000 in one day, but guess what? It's been done before. And if we have somebody out there with a lot of means, by the way, before I forget, Neil has promised to come with me. So anybody who gets coffee with Egberto will be getting coffee with Egberto and Neil. So that is a $250. The promise still holds, right, Neil?
Yeah. Oh, I'm witty and engaged, so it's well worth it.
Absolutely, folks. Listen, a $250 contribution. A thank you is for Egberto and Neil to come out there and, shoot the bull with you. Actually, not the bull. We'll shoot real good stuff with you. So come on. Anybody who gives a $250 contribution for Breakfast with Egberto, we will do that. And folks, call 713-526-5738, extension number 1. Sandy, are you there?
Of course, I'm here, Egberto. Where else would I be? 713-526-5738. You're hearing voices over the Pacifica airwaves that are listener-sponsored. They're in your ears because of all the people that have donated money, both this drive and on all the previous drives ever. If you're not one of those people that have donated and have the means to do so, please take action and support what you're listening to. Support community radio. It is so darn important that we have independence on the airwaves, free of commercials and free of corporate control, and allow the people to express their opinions. So important. I can't emphasize it enough that without KPFT in Houston, it would be a different city. Entirely different. We're part of the fabric here. And we hope that you realize that and that you'll come through. Just do your part. $5 a month. Sustainer. $5 a month. What you going to do with that $5 bill? You can spend it on a lot of things. If you have the wherewithal to give it to KPFT, you know you're going to get 24 hours a day, 7 days a week by two channels. HD1, which you're listening to now, either through terrestrial means on 90.1 FM or on your HD radio, and HD2 available on your HD radio. And if you have a phone, you can stream it right there from the phone. You got an HD radio in your hands. Folks, this is a labor of love for everybody that you hear. Everybody that comes on is passionate. They're not being paid. This is a matter of wanting to bring the information, the views, the news, the music to you by that volunteer. And that passion comes right through your speakers into your ears, and it dissolves in your mind. 713-526-5738. Keep it going strong. KPFT.org. Click donate. Keep it going strong. We've only heard from Anthony so far this morning. And of course, Boyd earlier in the wee hours of the morning. But we need to hear from you. Come on. It's the final day. Tomorrow morning, my alarm will not be set for what I consider an early hour. I will not be here talking to you. However, Politics Done Right will continue. KPFT will continue much better if you participate now. Please, 713-526-5738. A $120 pledge gets you a Caroline Street coffee cup and a pound of the Colombian Supremo coffee beans from Lola Savannah, and a really cool packaged bag that says KPFT Blend. And a blend is what we got. It's a cross-section that represents community. Be part of it with your donation. 713-526-5738, option 1, or kpft.org. Come on, join Anthony. Don't let him stand alone. We need to hear from you. Final morning, 5 minutes to 7 a.m., one pledge in the hour. We can do better. 713-526-5738, option 1, or kpft.org. If you've waited till the final day to make your pledge, hey, you succeeded. This is it. Back to you, bud. Egberto.
Thank you very much, Sandy. Folks, look, I know you're tired of this. I am too. I was tired of this pledge drive from day one, from day zero. I'm tired of pledge drives. I hate them. But that's the only thing we can do. Whenever you have organizations that are saying, we are not forcing you to give us money. We're asking you to volunteer to support. You know, I mean, there are different operating models, right? And the model that proves that we want you for sure is that model where you give voluntarily. We ask, you give voluntarily. We tell you what our needs are, you give voluntarily, because our needs are not a personal need. It is a need to provide a service, and it's a need to provide something that it's not. I mean, we do two things here, right? We give a service when it comes to our music. It's a service that of a different kind of music that doesn't get the kind of airtime on commercial stations. So you get that here. But we also give you the kind of news that you don't get on commercial stations. In other words, on the news that is unfiltered through the corporations. You know what's coming out of here is coming out of the heart, and it's coming out of the truth. And, you know, I mean, in case of Politics Done Right, we tell you all the time, go fact check everything we say here. Feel free to do so. And if you find any mistakes, errors, or whatever, you let us know, and we'll correct it in real time for everybody to know that, hey, we made a boo-boo here or there. Not a problem. We're human. But that's what we do here, folks. 713-526-5738, extension number 1. We are coming close to the top of the hour. This is KPFT Houston. Folks, let me tell you, we are short right now. It's the last day. there are many of you that, and I honestly know it's an effort to pick up that phone. You're listening to the program and you want to hear what we have to say. We want to hear what Neil has to say. We want to hear this. So sometimes we wait till the end of the show to start calling, or we say we're going to give at the end of the show, but you want to finish listening. And then the end of the show comes and there's something else that takes your time. And by then you forget that you promised yourself that you're going to support the program. For all practical purposes, Neil is going to have a few more words to say about a few things here in Houston and nationally. But for all practical purposes, we have to end pitching. And why do we have to end pitching? Because we haven't raised enough, and we want to ask you, for anybody that's tuning in right now that ever had an affinity to give, to do just that. Give. So if you give within the next 3-4 minutes, you're not going to miss whatever Neil is going to have to say, because we're going to be asking you to call now. 713-526-5738, extension number 1, or go to kpft.org, kpft.org on your browser, and hit donate. Scroll down to Politics Done Right as a program you're supporting, and then give whatever you can. There are great options, great thank you gifts that we have. Thank you gift. If you go ahead and give a $5 contribution, $5 a month, think about what you're doing for the station. $5 a month is less than a coffee. $10 a month, 2 coffees. $15 a month, 3 coffees. And what does that give you? You always have a platform here. Your small contribution in volume from many other listeners means so much more to us, for us to do what we're doing here. You want to have some fun? What about Coffee with Egberto and Neil Aquino? Hey, a $250 contribution gives you that. I don't think we've had one of those breakfast with or coffee with Egberto this period. Last time we had a few of them. This time I don't think we have one. So it would be great. Hey, do it. Why not do that? And I know there are listeners out there that like the programming and that are probably wealthy as well. Since we are down by $25,000, maybe you can give $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, $5,000. I couldn't do that now, but maybe you can. Maybe that doesn't mean much to you. Can you consider doing that for a station worth having? If you are a person with means, can you, in effect, I don't want to just say share the wealth, but do that as a benefit for all Houstonians who want to listen to this? Why not call 713-526-5738, extension number 1, or go to kpft.org. Neil, I want to bring you in for new subject. Talk to me.
Great. So another blog post that I made over the week at the Houston Democracy Project, HoustonDemocracyProject.com. I try to keep it local, but I wrote a Memorial Day post. My father was a Korean War combat veteran, a combat medic. He paid a lifelong price for that. And he spoke, actually very, very early in my life, he spoke to me about the equal humanity of the Chinese, Korean, and American soldiers, and Chinese and Korean soldiers and civilians that he saw. It was an early lesson for me. And he would talk about the massive numbers of civilians who died in the Korean War and who always die in our wars. But I just came upon by accident on C-SPAN a memorial service for a Colonel, I've lost his name, Colonel Ralph Puckett, who had been given a Medal of Honor by President Biden for service in the Korean War. So his ashes were placed in the rotunda of the Capitol. It was a 30-minute service on C-SPAN, and I watched it because it was connected to the Korean War. And the remarks at the memorial service, his ashes were placed in the rotunda for viewing by the people, were made by the House Speaker Mike Johnson and Senator McConnell. And it really made me ill to think that people whom had been associated with January 6th were giving these remarks, and people who support Donald Trump. Donald Trump repeatedly has spoken well of the North Korean autocrat dictator Kim Jong-un. And the Korean War isn't even over yet. The Korean War isn't even over. So, and then there were Capitol Police in the ceremony. There were Capitol Police and military people who brought the ashes there, held the ashes, were in formation. And these are the same police who'd been trampled on January 6th, right? And so these right-wing politics are so extreme, they have me defending cops. It's something. So it was just unbelievable.
I just realized what you said. It is so extreme. Neil Aquino's defending cops. Go ahead.
Defending cops, and the military, and of course, there's a lot of militarism. There's a lot of excess defense budget. But with our army, my father was in the first desegregated units. He told me that it changed his racial attitudes. That growing up as a kid in Providence, Rhode Island, he had the racial attitudes of the time, of his community. And he said that serving in the Korean War changed it. And he was in the first, and people talk about the role of government, that changed my father's views, and those views were imparted to me. But it was just so I was just glad my father was dead. He died 13 years ago. I was glad my father didn't see Trump. I'm glad my father didn't see this ceremony on C-SPAN. Nothing dishonored the Colonel Puckett. He apparently had served very bravely in the Korean War, had deserved the Medal of Honor that President Biden. But it's not an endorsement of militarism. It's not an endorsement of aggressive or over-policing to say that honorable service should be recalled, that anyone who's trampled by a right-wing mob should be held out as a victim of that. And it just struck me how far we've fallen in recent years, that people who aided and condoned January 6th were in a position where they were referencing someone else's honor when they had no honor themselves.
There you go. I could, in reading your blog, you could see the passion that you felt after seeing that story. I mean, the hypocrisy of Johnson and McConnell, it's unheard of. Now, it's interesting because you were you sort of said it in jest about defending police. Look, we need the police. Let's be clear about that. We need good policing, and we don't need full police. We need good policing, and we need police to do what police are supposed to do, and we need other professionals to do what they do best. Policemen shouldn't be psychologists and all these things. They should enforce the law, nothing more, less. But Scheffler, the Gulf guy that got arrested, he's going to get off, because it turns out these cops, every time you read a police report, I don't know if you remember the police report that happened with, what's the name of the guy that the guy was his throat, neck on his throat, George Floyd. The police report that they gave for George Floyd bears nothing to reality. The police report that they gave for golfer Scheffler that was arrested on his way to the golf tournament, the police report looked nothing like what the subsequent videos that they were able to get from way afar says. How can you ever trust what these guys say? It seems a constancy, the lies that they say in these reports. I am just glad that this guy had the wherewithal. He had the means in which to challenge that bad arrest. He had means.
This is a subject I've talked about police often on the Houston Democracy Project. We just saw in Austin, so Governor Abbott pardoned Daniel Perry, who had a shot,
murdered.
I think the was Garrett Foster. Excuse me if I have it wrong, but I think the man's name was Garrett Foster, who was the protester who was killed. And so the jury of his peers in Travis County convicted him, Governor Abbott's parole board. But there was a story that in the Austin American-Statesman that the Austin Police Department drafted a letter. They didn't send it, but they had drafted a letter from the police department on the signature of the interim chief of the Austin Police Department, calling on Governor Perry to release the guy, right? And that's a topic. The police are, when an election is stolen, when ballots are thrown out, the police are going to have to make decisions about whether to be on the side of democracy or not. I have some concerns about what side they'll take. We see the Fraternal Order of Police endorsing Trump, no matter how lawless. They did in the last cycle. I'm not sure if they've done yet in 2024. no matter how lawless this stuff is. And it's concerning that so many officers support a lawless Republican Party and stand with a man who shot a protester. He went down like Rittenhouse, looking for trouble, found it, and the police support it. And here in Harris County, where there's so much criticism of the judges, there's a whole law and order crew, the media, these crime victims advocacy groups, law and order, and yet we've got the most lawless guy possible running for president, and who's even putting forth an outlaw image, appearing on stage with people suspected or accused of significant crime. But nope, not a word.
It's sad, but folks, we got to close out pitching now, my friend. 713-526-5738. We only have one donor so far. We appreciate Anthony L. to the nth degree, but Anthony is not a new person to supporting our station. He's not new to supporting her. He's an existing supporter. I want to ask more existing supporters to keep your existence, keep your support. And thank you. It's very, very much appreciated. You have proven to do what's necessary here, folks. But as well, I'd like new people that listen all of the times, that have never yet contributed. I know many times you said, I'm going to do it. Look, first of all, I know many can't. It's not you that I'm talking to. I promise you that. You know the philosophy of this program. If you can, please do. If you can't, we still want you. Again, if you can, please do. But if you can't, please continue listening, because we want you. Absolutely want you. Tell people about the program and share the program. Now, for those of you who can, who just haven't, because this is not a judgment, folks. This is just a request for you to kind of get over that procrastination. Get over that, I'll do it the next time. The next time needs to be, we ask you to make it now. We kindly ask you to make that, I'm going to do it the next time. Please make it now if you have never, ever given to the station. I mean, it's worth it. And when I tell you, once you officially give the first time for something like a KPFT, and knowing that you have a level of ownership, knowing that you become an official member of the community, knowing that you become a voting member of our coalition of stations, and we have many. We have 5 major stations and over 150 or so affiliates. When you do that, you know you are a part of a family. And you see how we conduct our program here. You are really family in this program. I mean, many times you don't start as family, but by the end you are, you know. So give us a call, 713-526-5738, extension number 1, or go to kpft.org, click that donate button, scroll down to Politics Done Right as a program you're supporting, and give whatever you can. Can I ask you so kindly for $5 a month, maybe $10 a month if you can, or more? If we have a few folks that have means, not necessarily rich, but that you can afford to do quite a bit. Hey, if you can do $1,000 this time to kind of take us over the edge and help take us over the edge, that would be great. And you'd be doing a positive thing. And because we are a 501c3, guess what, folks? It's tax deductible, you know? So for those of you who are looking at your taxes and saying, I give X amount of dollars every year for XYZ, hey, drop $5,000, drop $10,000, whatever you can. But we really like those small donors, $5 a month, $10 a month, and help us out. We can do this, but we cannot do this without you. Is Sandy standing by?
I am. You know, from way up north, from Huntsville down to Galveston, from Winnie to Eagle Lake, our signal can be heard. Potentially, you have an audience of millions of people. I don't know how many people are listening exactly at this time, but it's baffling that only Anthony stepped up and made a pledge. There are thousands of you listening right now. You know how we roll here at KPFT, unless you just turned it on for the first time this morning, and a couple of you might have. Let me explain. We're listener supported. That's simple. You haven't heard a commercial in the entire hour. We're about to wrap this up and go over to New York and listen to Amy Goodman's show. But before we do, can I get 3 people to join Anthony at the $100 level? 3 of you. Just pick up a Politics Done Right t-shirt, or maybe a Blues Cats Lounge t-shirt, or a Deadbeat t-shirt, or a Gumbo t-shirt. We've got a whole list of really cool shirts that the hosts of these shows either designed themselves or had real good friends design. And the last time that we're going to offer it today, the Elevator Prozac t-shirt from the late Clay Brazier. Unfortunately, we lost him in April. He was a terrific artist, terrific graphic artist. In fact, he taught that at Lone Star College. Can you pick up a t-shirt, 3 of you, and support KPFT? You don't have to do the whole 25K. I know I can't do it, and I'm betting you can't do it either. But can you do part of it? If enough of us get together, as we've done over these 54 years, and, well, it becomes an easy deal because we all bring a little bit to the party, and that little bit adds up to one tremendous amount of energy or money that's turned into energy, that turns into community dialogue, that creates understanding, that leads to peace. That's what I'm asking, for you to foster that process with your dollars. 713-526-5738, option 1, or kpft.org, and click the donate button. Join Anthony. Join Boyd. Join the other 817 acts of kindness that have led us to our total here, just under $125,000 currently. We need to hear from you. 713-526-5738, option 1, or kpft.org. There are a lot of places for your money, a lot of things that you can go buy, a lot of things you can go spend it on to go see a movie, maybe dinner. And let's talk about that for a minute. You decide you're going out, dinner or in a movie, you and your partner. How much are you going to spend on that? Think about it. Then think about what we're asking, $5 a month or a $100 t-shirt. Yeah, line it up in your own head, because I know if I'm going out to see a dinner and a movie, well, depending on where I eat, I better have at least a $100 bill in my hand, if not double that. 713-526-5738, option 1, or kpft.org. Egberto, you got 3 minutes.
All right. Well, I'm going to delegate one of those minutes to the one and only Neil Aquino to close out and tell folks about democracy, the Houston Democracy Project, because you did great work during this election and the advice you gave, brother.
Great. Well, I encourage people to, in addition to donating KPFT, come and visit the Houston Democracy Project at the HoustonDemocracyProject.com. And we're seeking to organize, inspire, back up, support, lead pro-democracy movement in Houston and Harris County as we face an authoritarian threat in Texas and the nation. And one way that you can strengthen the forces of democracy is to donate to KPFT. If you make the donation after the program, you can specify on the KPFT website that the contribution is to Politics Done Right. So the opportunity to contribute to the show continues. And there's all sorts of ways that we as individual citizens can support the infrastructure of democracy as the right builds an infrastructure of authoritarianism at the local and state and national level.
Thank you so kindly, Neil. Let's drop it to the studio for their final words.
Well, nothing from me. A very exciting show today, of course, along with Neil Aquino. It's always a good show with him. Support KPFT, folks, 713-526-5738. You heard Sandy. And it's very important that you support us today. This is the final day of Fund Drive. We're behind $20,000. Folks, 713-526-5738. Jack, what you got?
Nothing.
Jack got nothing. So it's back to you.
I can't believe Jack got nothing. Well, look, I'm going to wrap it up this way. First of all, present my love to every single caller, every single listener, every single contributor. I also want to ask, if you have never ever given to KPFT, if you've never ever given for Politics Done Right, we are signing off in about 35 seconds. As soon as we sign off, please go to kpft.org, click that donate button, scroll down to Politics Done Right, and give whatever you can. We love $5 a month, $10 a month, but give whatever you can. Or go to 713-526-5738 and call in, give whatever you can. Folks, got to get out of here. Love you all. Go to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter for the actual other pieces of the show that we were unable to give. But tomorrow we got you a full show. 713-526-5738, extension number 1. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you guys know how I end this, baby. I am what? Out!
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead, number 1, subscribe to our channel, and number 2, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.